Greetings, radiant Leo souls. What if I told you that something extraordinary is already unfolding behind the scenes for you? This isn't just another video. This is your divine appointment. A cosmic whisper, gently guiding you here, right now, to receive what your soul has long been preparing for. Welcome to Eternal Mindfulness, a sacred space where stars speak, energy flows, and every message is hand-delivered by the universe itself. This is a deep horoscope reading made just for you, Leo, for April 21st and 22nd, 2025. And trust me, what's blooming right now is not just beautiful. It's transformational. So, let me ask you something. Have you been sensing a shift, subtle, yet undeniable, in your energy lately? Have your thoughts been circling around change, release, or even that strange inner knowing that something's coming, but you just can't name it yet? Well, Leo, that's because this is not a coincidence. This is the energy of release, healing, and rebirth, and it is calling your name. For the next 2 days, the universe is aligning portals of abundance, intuition, and personal power, and your presence here means you're already in resonance with that shift. You're being invited into a space where you can let go of old weight, heal from within, realign with your inner truth, and finally open the door to true abundance. Not just material wealth, but spiritual alignment, emotional flow, and soul-deep clarity. Now, before we go deeper, allow me to take a sacred pause. Let me sincerely thank you for being here. Your energy, your curiosity, your openness, it fuels this space. Every like, every comment, every subscription deepens your connection to this spiritual family here at Eternal Mindfulness. Your support doesn't just grow the channel, it amplifies the collective energy we co-create together. So thank you, truly, from the depth of my heart. You being here isn't random. It's destined. And because of that, I want to ask. Will you take a moment and comment down below a random angel number that's been appearing in your life, or one that just popped into your mind? That number may hold a key, a confirmation, or a message waiting to be unlocked in this reading. And I promise you, if you stay with me until the end of this video, you'll receive more than insight. You'll receive alignment, peace, a reminder of your power, and perhaps, a surprise that feels like it was made for you. Now, take a deep breath, beautiful Leo. This is your time. The universe is speaking. And your soul is listening. Let's begin. Sometimes, what feels heavy isn't just the tasks on our to-do list or the expectations of others. It's the quiet pressure we place on ourselves to hold everything together. Leo, your fire is magnificent, but even the sun must rest behind the clouds now and then. You've carried burdens not meant to be yours, simply because you believed you had to. Perhaps you told yourself that if you don't do it, no one will. That if you pause, things will fall apart. But here's a gentle truth: the world won't collapse when you put something down. In fact, your world just might begin to open up. There is a subtle art to knowing what is truly yours to hold and what has simply lingered on your shoulders out of habit. The reverse 10 of Wands shows us this delicate moment, the pause between effort and surrender. It's not a sign of weakness to stop gripping so tightly. It's a recognition that your energy is sacred, and where it flows should be a conscious choice, not a conditioned reaction. Letting go doesn't mean you abandon your dreams or responsibilities. It means you stop fueling what drains you and begin to nourish what uplifts you. Imagine your spirit like a garden. If you keep watering only the weeds of obligation, fear, and perfectionism, your flowers, the parts of you that long to bloom, won't get the light they need. Release is not a loss, it's a clearing. It's how new growth begins. There's also something profoundly healing in choosing to step back without guilt. There is a wisdom in slowing down. Just as the tree doesn't mourn the leaves it sheds in autumn, neither should you feel ashamed of what you're ready to outgrow. The natural world teaches us that cycles of release are necessary for cycles of abundance. And you, Radiant Leo, are entering a cycle where what you let go of determines the space available for miracles. Sometimes, what you carry isn't even yours. You may have absorbed the worries of your family, the unspoken fears of your community, or the long echoes of societal expectations. But you are not a container for collective pain. You are a vessel of light, and you must decide what belongs within your field. Releasing these invisible burdens isn't selfish, it's sacred. Because when your energy is clear, you become a clearer channel for inspiration, connection, and joy. The moment you stop grasping at control is the moment softness can return. In this softness, a quiet strength rises, the kind of strength that doesn't need to prove itself. It just is. That's the strength that heals. That's the strength that leads not by force, but by presence. And that is what your soul is asking for right now. If you feel safe to do so, write down 3 things you've been holding onto that feel heavy or draining. Be honest. Be compassionate. Then, in a simple ritual, burn or tear the paper, and as the words dissolve, imagine their weight leaving your body. You don't need to understand everything to let go. You just need to trust that release invites restoration. When the inner tension begins to dissolve, space is made for clarity. And in that clarity, you begin to remember, you were never here to carry it all. You were here to shine. Not with strain, but with ease. Not with pressure, but with presence. So breathe now, Leo. Breathe like someone who knows they're allowed to rest. You don't have to keep holding everything. You only have to hold yourself. And from that sacred center, everything else will realign. There's a subtle yet powerful moment that happens just after release, when the noise begins to fade, and something softer emerges from within. That's where you are now, Leo. Having laid down the weight of what no longer belongs, you find yourself standing in a new kind of stillness, the kind where healing doesn't shout, but gently arrives. And this is precisely where the star begins her quiet work. Not as a distant miracle, but as a returning remembrance of your own light. The presence of the star card in this part of your journey isn't random. It's aligned with the natural rhythm of restoration that follows letting go. Just as the body renews itself in silence, and the earth regenerates under moonlight, your spirit too is finding its breath again. It's important to know that healing doesn't always come with fireworks. Sometimes, it whispers in the pauses. It returns in the moments when you choose to focus on what's still whole, not on what's been lost. You might notice that something within you is beginning to shift, not in a grand, sweeping way, but in small, tender awakenings. A thought that feels lighter. A morning that begins without resistance. A sense of beauty in something you used to overlook. These are not coincidences, they are signals that you are moving from a frequency of lack into the gentle terrain of gratitude. And gratitude, Leo, is not a passive feeling. It's an act of power. When you choose to notice what is here, what is good, what is working, what still holds you, you redirect your energy. You begin to create from abundance rather than chase it. This shift is supported by the ancient wisdom of presence. When the mind is no longer consumed by the future or burdened by the past, it begins to see clearly. In that clarity, we reconnect with something far more stable than emotion or thought, awareness. And from awareness, appreciation blooms, naturally, without force. Much like how the lotus rises from still waters, your joy, your peace, your sense of meaning can only emerge when the internal waters calm. The golden light of this phase isn't something that comes from outside of you. It's a reflection of what's always been within, just waiting for the clouds to part. The color gold, energetically speaking, resonates with warmth, illumination, and divine clarity. It's the color of the midday sun and also the halo of calm insight that surrounds someone who has stopped searching and started seeing. Wearing, visualizing, or surrounding yourself with gold in these days can help you amplify the vibration of alignment and inner radiance. Leo, you don't have to reach for the stars. You are the light that has always existed behind them. And the star card is merely a mirror, gently reminding you that healing is not about fixing who you are, but remembering who you've always been when you're not weighed down by doubt, pressure, or the need to prove. Let yourself lean into the quiet beauty of the present. Let your focus shift to what's working, even if it's just your breath. Let gratitude soften your edges and remind you that the more you see what is already here, the more you invite what's to come. Like a field that flourishes not from force but from care, your life is beginning to respond to your gentleness. And in this gentleness, something remarkable begins to happen. You glow, not for show, but because you're in harmony again. This is the light that heals. This is the frequency that attracts. And this, dear Leo, is your moment to rise, not with roar, but with quiet, unmistakable radiance. Progress doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes, it looks like repetition. Quiet routines. The things you do every day when no one is watching. The Eight of Pentacles reminds us of this, that devotion to the process is what builds foundations that last. And in your current journey, Leo, that's exactly what's being illuminated. You're not lost. You're refining. You're not behind. You're becoming. And every small action, every focused moment, is part of a greater structure that your future self will one day stand upon. What makes this energy so significant is its grounding nature. After the gentle release and soft healing of the previous phases, now comes the phase of rooted movement, the stage where your hands meet your intention. But this isn't about rushing. It's about being fully present. There's a subtle but essential difference between striving and working with purpose. One is driven by fear of not being enough. The other flows from the knowing that your effort, aligned with your truth, is enough all on its own. There's a principle here that echoes deeply in contemplative traditions, the understanding that right action arises not from impulse or pressure, but from clarity. When you begin your day not by reacting to external noise but by asking a simple question, what can I do today that brings me closer to the life I want? You move from the center of yourself. And from that center, what you create carries the imprint of presence. This is how mastery begins. Not in grand declarations, but in quiet consistency. This phase is also where the illusion of needing to control everything begins to unravel. True creation isn't about forcing outcomes, it's about listening deeply to your inner signals and trusting the rhythm of your own timing. Think of the artisan who shapes a piece of wood into something sacred. Their focus isn't on the finish line, but on the next curve of the blade, the feel of the grain. Likewise, your path becomes clearer not when you try to skip ahead, but when you focus on the shape of what's in your hands now. And if you're wondering whether your intuition can truly be trusted here, the answer is yes. That quiet nudge? That "this feels right" moment? It's more than a fleeting emotion, it's a response from the part of you that's always known the way. The practice of noticing your instincts without judgment, of recording them just as they are, creates space for them to become clearer over time. Insight grows not by interrogation, but by invitation. This is where the line between external success and inner alignment becomes thin and beautiful. The more present you are with your process, the more natural your success becomes. And it may not arrive in the exact shape or timeline you expected, but it will arrive in resonance with who you're becoming. That's the quiet power of this card, and of this moment in your journey. So continue. Rise each day and meet it with care. You don't need to rush to the outcome. You only need to take the step that's right in front of you, with attention, with presence, with the dignity of someone who knows their energy is sacred. The universe is already echoing back your intention. Now your task is to stay steady, stay close to yourself, and let each small action become a seed. Because Leo, something remarkable is already growing beneath your feet. Courage doesn't always feel like a roar. Sometimes, it whispers as a soft breath before a first step. And right now, Leo, you are standing on the edge of something not yet defined, a new chapter that hasn't introduced itself in full, but that is already calling you by name. The appearance of the Fool in your energetic landscape is no accident. It's an invitation to trust not what you can see, but what you can feel. Not what is already proven, but what is alive in your quiet curiosity and intuitive knowing. The mind will always ask for a guarantee before it moves. It wants structure, predictability, an outline of what comes next. But beginnings don't often come with blueprints. They come with instinct. They come with breath. They come with that flutter in your chest when something unknown starts to feel right, even if you don't yet understand why. That's where the Fool steps in, not to offer all the answers, but to remind you that you don't need them in order to begin. There's a kind of wisdom that arises when we're willing to loosen our grip on how things should be. When we let go of the pressure to have it all figured out, or to do everything flawlessly, we make space for the organic unfolding of life, for the kind of growth that doesn't come from control, but from participation. There is a concept in ancient philosophy that speaks to this moment, the idea that the path reveals itself as you walk it. Not before. Not on paper. But in each moment you show up, willing to meet what's there. And what's truly powerful about this moment for you, Leo, is that you're not being asked to leap blindly. You're being asked to take one honest step in the direction that feels most aligned, not with the version of you shaped by past expectations, but with the one that's quietly emerging from your recent healing and clarity. The version of you that no longer needs everything to be perfect in order to feel safe. That's what makes the Fool so revolutionary, not because he's reckless, but because he's free. Free from the fear that starting over means going backward. Free from the need to predict the outcome. Free enough to show up open, curious, and willing to receive life as it is. And that freedom? It's already inside you. You've simply been taught to trade it for certainty. But now, you're remembering that trust is a form of power, and unlike control, it flows with ease. If you've been hesitating on something, a decision, a conversation, a project, even a personal change, this is your green light. It doesn't have to be a leap. It can be a shift. A conversation. A new thought that replaces an old one. A walk in a new direction. A sentence that begins something new. Whatever it is, make it intentional. Let it come from the part of you that is ready to be surprised in a beautiful way. And when fear shows up, as it naturally will when we step into something unfamiliar, meet it with breath. Not resistance. Replace the old narrative of, what if it all goes wrong, with a new affirmation, I allow life to surprise me in the best way possible. Because when you show up to life with that energy, life often responds with grace. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more fully who you already are, before the world asked you to be cautious, polished, or perfect. You're not falling into the unknown. You're returning to the part of yourself that remembers how to begin. And that, Leo, is where real freedom lives. Love rarely arrives the way we were taught to expect it. It doesn't always show up with grand gestures or follow a perfectly timed script. Sometimes, it looks like a quiet reckoning. A gentle returning. A deeper look inward that softens everything you once thought you had to harden in order to survive. As you step into this part of your journey, Leo, you're not just being asked to reimagine love, you're being asked to reimagine your relationship to love. The Empress and the Lovers together suggest that this isn't just about romance, it's about the frequency you operate from when you relate to anyone, including yourself. After all the letting go, healing, and grounding, now comes the most tender and most courageous work of all, opening your heart again, this time without the armor. This isn't about being naive or reckless. It's about choosing to engage with life and with others from a place that isn't ruled by fear, control, or the illusion of safety. Because real love, the kind that nourishes, evolves, and aligns with your soul, only responds to truth. And truth can't bloom where fear still dominates. There's an ancient teaching that says, the way we see others is often just a reflection of how we see ourselves. If you carry judgment, fear, or shame toward your own heart, that vibration inevitably shapes how you relate to those around you. Conversely, when you begin to speak gently to yourself, to appreciate your effort, to forgive the moments you didn't know better, something extraordinary happens. Your external connections begin to shift too. Not because you demanded it, but because your energy has shifted its center. And energy doesn't lie. It's often said that love is a choice. And in moments like these, it truly is. You get to choose whether to keep replaying old patterns or to pause long enough to ask, is this the kind of love I want to create? Is this how I want to feel in connection, with others, with life, with myself? The Empress asks you to root love in compassion, in nourishment, in presence. The Lovers ask you to be honest about your values, your desires, your boundaries, and to honor them not just in others, but in your own reflection first. Start small. Speak to yourself with the kindness you crave from others. At the end of the day, name 3 things about yourself you're grateful for, not achievements, but qualities. The way you listened today. The way you kept going. The way you felt deeply. If there's someone you love, tell them one truth you've been holding back, something soft, something honest, something that bridges the gap. And if there's someone from your past whose memory still holds you captive, consider this: forgiving them doesn't excuse anything. It just means you're ready to stop carrying what they couldn't heal. Not for them. For you. This kind of love, the one that begins with truth, that roots itself in presence, that doesn't chase or perform, is the love that aligns with who you're becoming. It won't require you to shrink or prove yourself. It will meet you where you are and grow with you. But it can only find you if you're living in resonance with it. And that begins with dropping the old narratives of what love should look like, and asking instead, what kind of love feels like home to my soul? When you love from that place, not to fill a void, not to prove your worth, but simply to connect, to express, to share what overflows, love becomes less of a destination and more of a way of being. And in that state, Leo, the love that finds you won't be random. It will be recognition. It will be a mirror. And it will be real. Of all the gifts life can offer, Leo, the most powerful one is already within you, and it has been quietly unfolding throughout this entire journey. The truth is, you don't have to wait for a perfect moment to begin again. This moment, as it is, with its quiet revelations and small shifts, is already more than enough. Because it's not about perfection, it's about presence. And right now, you are standing in the center of something sacred, a convergence of mental release, emotional healing, soul-level renewal, and the magnetic arrival of abundance that reflects your own inner alignment. You've done something courageous just by showing up here. You've listened, reflected, and allowed yourself to consider a different way of moving through the world, one that's guided by intuition, grounded in love, and centered in trust. And that trust? It doesn't need guarantees. It only needs your willingness. Your willingness to try something new, to take the next step without having the entire map, and to believe that who you are, as you are, is already a portal to possibility. So now, as this video draws to a close, I want to ask you, what's one thing from today's message that you know, deep down, is ready to become part of your everyday life? What would shift if you replaced judgment with gratitude, or fear with even a little bit of trust? What might unfold if, instead of waiting for confidence, you chose to act with quiet courage? This is your moment to make it real, not in theory, but in practice. Begin with the smallest thing. One gentle action. One shift in thought. One message you send with love. One new habit that honors your worth. That's how transformation happens, not all at once, but one breath, one choice, one presence-filled day at a time. And while you walk this path, remember, you're not alone. This space, eternal mindfulness, was created for seekers like you. For the ones who know there's something more to this life and are willing to tune into the subtler, wiser parts of themselves to find it. If this message has touched you, inspired you, or sparked something within, I invite you to anchor that energy right now by commenting below. Sparkles, choose an angel number that's been showing up in your world: 111, 444, 888, or one that just popped into your heart. Then affirm it by writing, "I'm ready to receive the miracles meant for me." Because once you declare it, the universe listens. And more importantly, you listen. And that changes everything. From the deepest part of my heart, thank you for being here today. Your presence matters. Your light matters. Every like you give, every comment you share, and every time you subscribe helps this space grow, not just in numbers, but in energy. It allows us to keep sharing these messages, to reach more hearts, and to remind more souls of who they truly are. So if you feel called, please give this video a like to keep the flow going. Subscribe if you want to continue walking this journey with us. And if someone you love, especially another Leo, might need to hear this today, don't hesitate to share it with them. Always remember, you don't need to roar to be powerful. You don't need to prove to be worthy. The calm in your spirit is enough to move mountains, and trust me, the universe is already listening.